Picture this. You're standing in front of a closed door. Maybe it was a job rejection, a failed relationship, or a dream that didn't work out. That sinking feeling in your chest. We've all been there. But what if I told you that slammed door might be the best thing that ever happened to you? 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius faced more rejection than most of us ever will. Betrayals, wars, plagues, yet he wrote these timeless words: "The obstacle is the way." Today, we're taking that ancient wisdom and turning it into your modern superpower. Rejection doesn't have to break you, it can make you. Those no's you've been collecting, they're not roadblocks, they're redirections. The universe isn't saying never, it's whispering not this way. In this video, we're going beyond motivational quotes. These are 13 battle-tested strategies to transform rejection from a wound into fuel. The same principles that turned Roman emperors, world-changing inventors, and legendary artists into forces of nature. But first, if you've ever felt overlooked, undervalued, or like the world keeps saying no when you deserve yes, hit that like button. Let's show the algorithm that real growth starts right here. Ready for the first lesson? It's the most counterintuitive but devastatingly effective. When they ignore you, ignore them harder. Not out of spite, out of strategy. See, rejection only has power if you let it define you. But when you refuse to play by its rules, when you take that energy and pour it into becoming undeniable, that's when the real magic happens. The door didn't slam shut, it redirected you. And where it's leading, you're about to find out. Drop a comment below. What's one rejection that ended up working in your favor? Let's rewrite the narrative together. The silent power of ignoring those who ignore you. There comes a moment in life when someone looks right through you, when they treat you as if you don't matter. Your first instinct might be to seek their approval, to prove your worth, to make them see you. But here's the truth that changes everything. The most powerful response isn't chasing their attention, it's withdrawing yours completely. When you ignore those who ignore you, you're not being petty. You're making a declaration to the universe. I refuse to beg for scraps of respect. This isn't about playing games. It's about recognizing that your energy is precious and you won't waste it on those who can't recognize its value. Think about it. When someone treats you as insignificant, they're handing you a gift. They're showing you exactly where not to invest your time, your effort, your heart. So take that gift, turn away, not with anger, not with resentment, but with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth isn't up for debate. Now here's the crucial part. Ignoring them isn't about suppression, it's about redirection. Pour that energy into yourself instead. Read the book you've been putting off. Train for the goal you've been delaying. Surround yourself with people who light up when you enter the room. Build a life so vibrant that their indifference becomes irrelevant. There will be moments when the sting tries to creep in, when you wonder why they don't see what others do. That's when you dig deeper. That's when you remember. Their inability to recognize your worth says everything about their limitations and nothing about your value. The world will try to convince you that you should fight for every scrap of attention. But true strength, it lies in walking away from tables where you're treated as an option. It lies in the silent understanding that you are the prize. And prizes aren't left on shelves begging to be chosen. So let them ignore you, and while they're looking the other way, that's when you outgrow them completely. The Stoic secret to facing rejection without breaking. Rejection hits like a punch to the gut, that sudden rush of heat, the tightening in your chest, the instant urge to either lash out or beg for another chance. This is when most people lose themselves, but not you, not anymore. The ancient Stoics discovered something revolutionary 2,000 years ago that still holds true today. Between what happens to you and how you respond lies an invisible space of power. That space, that's where your freedom lives. When someone ignores you, brushes you off, or makes you feel small, you have a choice. Not about their actions, but about your own. This isn't about pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about refusing to let that hurt steer your life. Imagine this: someone treats you as irrelevant. The old you might have spiraled, obsessing over why, drafting angry texts, or worse, shrinking to fit their indifference. But the Stoic approach? Breathe, pause, ask one critical question: is my reaction serving me or enslaving me? Here's the truth they don't teach you. Emotional reactions are like pouring gasoline on a fire. That person who ignored you, they might not even remember the slight, but you'll remember the tantrum, the desperate plea, the dignity you sacrificed by giving them control over your peace. So how do you break the cycle? Respond, don't react. When the sting of rejection flares up, freeze the moment. Before you speak, before you text, before you spiral, stop. Literally stand still. Interrogate the pain. Why does this bother me? Is it them or an old wound they've scratched? Choose your move or don't. Sometimes the most powerful action is inaction. Silence isn't weakness. It's a steel trap that snaps shut on their games. This is where you discover an astonishing truth. Calmness isn't just control. It's contagious. When you refuse to match someone's energy, when you answer their indifference with unshakable poise, you flip the script. Suddenly, they're the ones left wondering why their tactics didn't land. But here's the real magic. Every time you master this pause, you're not just handling a rejection, you're rebuilding yourself. Brick by brick, you construct an inner fortress where external validation can't reach. People start to notice. They see someone who can't be rattled, who owns their worth without begging others to acknowledge it, and that's irresistible. The Stoics didn't preach calmness to be virtuous, they did it because it works. When you stop handing your emotions to everyone who slights you, you stop being a puppet. Your strings get cut, and in that space, that's where true power grows. Next, the life-changing art of subtraction, why removing certain people isn't loss, but liberation. The liberating art of mental detachment, how to erase toxic people from your mind. Rejection leaves scars, but not where you think. The wound isn't in the moment someone walks away. It's in the endless replay that follows in your mind. That constant mental loop where you relive their indifference, analyze their words, and question your worth. Here's the life-changing truth. You don't have to live there anymore. Detachment isn't denial. It's not pretending the rejection didn't hurt. It's looking directly at that pain and saying, you don't get to live rent-free in my mind anymore. Imagine your thoughts as prime real estate. Why would you lease space to someone who doesn't value you? This is where true transformation begins. That rejection, it's not a dead end, it's a redirection. Like a GPS recalculating your route after a wrong turn, life is steering you towards something better, even when you can't see the destination yet. Start by shifting your focus, not away from the pain, but towards something greater. Pick up that book that's been gathering dust, not as an escape, but as an expansion. Every page turns your attention outward, stretching your mind beyond that narrow fixation on who ignored you. Step into the gym, not to punish your body, but to reclaim it. With every weight lifted, you're not just building muscle, you're rebuilding your identity as someone who takes action rather than wallows. Surround yourself with people who spark inspiration, not desperation. Not fair-weather friends who vanish when you need them, but those rare souls who make you forget you were ever rejected because their presence reminds you how much you're truly worth. Here's the secret no one tells you. Detachment isn't passive. It's the most aggressive form of self-care. Every time you choose a new experience over rumination, every time you invest in yourself instead of dissecting their motives, you're not moving on, you're moving upward. That person who rejected you, they're becoming irrelevant, not because you've forgotten them, but because you've outgrown them. The memories fade, not through force, but because your life has become too full, too vibrant, too focused on what's ahead to keep looking back. This isn't about winning them back. It's about winning yourself forward. And one day, sooner than you think, you'll realize something astonishing. You can't quite recall why their opinion ever mattered so much. Next, the silent power move that forces respect without saying a word, demonstrating your worth through action. not please. The unstoppable power of silent excellence. Rejection doesn't define you, but how you respond to it does. That moment when you're overlooked, when someone fails to see your worth, isn't an ending. It's an invitation, a chance to demonstrate your true value in the most powerful way possible, through undeniable action. The world will try to convince you that rejection means you're not enough. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. Every no is simply redirecting you to a bigger yes. When that promotion goes to someone else, when your ideas are ignored in meetings, when you feel invisible, that's not the universe rejecting you. That's the universe protecting you from paths that weren't meant for you while clearing space for what is. This is where most people make their fatal mistake. They crumble, they complain, they beg for validation from those who've already shown they don't deserve to give it. But you're different. You understand the secret. The best revenge isn't anger, it's excellence. Channel that sting of rejection into fuel, that project no one thought you could handle. Own it. That skill they said wasn't important, master it. That dream they laughed at, pursue it with quiet, relentless determination. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. Stoicism teaches us a crucial lesson. We control nothing external, not others' opinions, not their choices, but we control everything about how we respond. When rejected, the Stoic doesn't rage against the injustice. They ask, how can I use this? That slight becomes the weight that strengthens their resolve. That dismissal becomes the motivation to build something undeniable. Here's what happens when you take this approach. People start noticing, not because you demanded their attention, but because your work, your attitude, your quiet confidence becomes impossible to ignore. The same people who overlooked you suddenly see you in a new light. And here's the beautiful part. By then, you won't even care, because you've grown beyond needing their approval. This isn't about pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about using that hurt as kindling for your fire. Every great innovator, artist, and leader has faced rejection. What set them apart wasn't avoiding the pain, but using it to propel themselves forward. Your value was never up for debate. The right people, the right opportunities, they recognize quality when they see it. If someone can't see yours, that's their limitation, not yours. Keep building, keep growing. Let your life become the irrefutable evidence of your worth. Next, the final, most crucial step, when and how to walk away for good. Because some bridges don't need rebuilding, they need burning. The radical power of silence, why cutting contact, is the ultimate act of self-respect. That moment after rejection, when your fingers hover over the keyboard, itching to send just one more message. We've all been there. But what if I told you the most powerful move isn't what you say, but what you don't say? Silence isn't emptiness, it's a thunderclap of self-worth. When someone rejects you and you respond with complete unbroken silence, you're not giving them the cold shoulder. You're giving yourself the warm embrace of dignity. This isn't about manipulation or playing hard to get. This is about the life-altering realization that you are not an option to be debated, but a priority to be cherished. Think about it. Every time you break that silence, every time you reach out after being ignored, you're handing them your power piece by piece. But when you choose stillness, when you let their rejection hang in the air without your usual pleas or explanations, that's when the magic happens. You're no longer a participant in their game, you've become the referee who just walked off the field. This silence serves two transformative purposes. First, it becomes a mirror, forcing them to sit with their own behavior, often for the first time. Second, and more importantly, it gives you the sacred space to remember who you were before their opinion mattered too much. Use this quiet period not to pine, but to build. That hobby you neglected, reclaim it. Those friendships you put on hold, revitalize them. The personal goals that got overshadowed, reignite them. Let your life become so full that their absence stops feeling like a void and starts feeling like an upgrade. Here's the uncomfortable truth most won't admit. Some people don't deserve access to you. Not because you're cruel, but because you're precious. Your time, your attention, your energy, these are the rarest currencies in the world. Why would you keep spending them on someone who's shown they don't value the exchange rate? The modern world will try to convince you that silence is weakness, that you must always have the last word. But ancient wisdom tells a different story. The Stoics knew what we've forgotten. True power isn't in reaction, it's in restraint. When you can walk away without explanation, when you can close a chapter without dramatic goodbyes, you demonstrate a strength that no rejection can touch. So let them wonder, let them sit with the echo of their own choices. While they're listening to silence, you'll be too busy writing your next chapter, one where your worth isn't questioned, but quietly, unshakably known. The Silent Revolution, how to turn rejection into your greatest advantage. Rejection isn't just a no, it's a dare, a challenge whispered in your ear. Show me what you're really made of. But here's the twist no one tells you. The real victory isn't about proving your doubters wrong. It's about discovering how spectacularly right you can become when you stop seeking their approval and start trusting your own potential. That moment when someone dismisses you, doubts your abilities, or writes you off. That's not your ending, it's your origin story. Imagine this. Instead of wasting energy convincing them, you channel every ounce of that frustration into becoming. That skill they said you lacked, master it so completely that their words become irrelevant. That dream they laughed at, pursue it with such quiet intensity that their laughter fades into the background of your extraordinary life. This isn't about revenge, it's about revelation, uncovering versions of yourself that even you didn't know existed. When you're labeled not good enough, let that be the spark that ignites your transformation. Not with loud declarations, but with silent, relentless action. Wake up earlier, study harder, practice longer. Let your progress be your only response. The magic happens when you shift focus from their opinions to your evolution. That project you've been putting off, start it today. That creative idea they mocked, bring it to life with such excellence that it becomes undeniable. The world pays attention when you stop explaining and start excelling. But here's the most beautiful part. As you pour yourself into this journey of self-mastery, something unexpected occurs. You stop caring about proving anything to anyone. Your confidence no longer comes from their changing opinions, but from your own unshakable knowledge of what you've overcome and what you've achieved. This is the ultimate power move, when their rejection becomes the fuel that propels you to heights they never imagined for you. And when you finally look down from that summit, their doubts will seem so small, so distant, that you'll wonder why you ever gave them space in your mind. Now the game changer, balance this fierce determination with something equally revolutionary, joy. Because the sweetest victory isn't just in achieving, it's in thriving. The radical act of joy, how to weaponize fun against rejection. Rejection wants you to shrink. It whispers that you should crawl into bed, replay the hurt, and marinate in bitterness. But what if I told you the most rebellious and effective response is to do the exact opposite? When life slams a door in your face, don't just knock louder. Throw a party in the hallway. This isn't about pretending you're not hurting. It's about refusing to let that pain dictate your life. Joy isn't escapism, it's warfare. Every time you choose laughter over lament, adventure over anguish, you're not ignoring the rejection, you're rendering it powerless. Think about it. What infuriates rejection more than seeing you thrive despite it? That colleague who overlooked you in the meeting, sign up for salsa classes. That date who ghosted you, gather your friends for an impromptu road trip. The key isn't just to move on, but to move upward into experiences so vibrant they make the rejection feel small by comparison. There's neuroscience at work here. When you engage in new, joyful activities, you're not just distracting yourself, you're rewiring your brain. Each burst of genuine laughter, each moment of flow in a creative pursuit, each connection with kindred spirits literally rebuilds your neural pathways away from pain and toward possibility. But here's the real magic. As you accumulate these experiences, something shifts. You stop seeing yourself through the lens of who rejected you and start seeing yourself through the eyes of those who celebrate you. That art class. It introduces you to people who appreciate your creativity. That volunteer group, it connects you with souls who value your compassion. Rejection isolated you. Joy reintroduces you to yourself and to your tribe. This isn't about forgetting the pain. It's about outgrowing it. One concert, one cooking class, one spontaneous adventure at a time. Let your life become so full that when you look back at that rejection, you don't see an ending. You see the turning point where you started living louder, bolder, and more authentically than ever before. Next, how to transform social capital into unshakable confidence, because visibility is the best revenge. The Stoics' Guide to Social Status. How to become unignorable without trying. Picture this. You walk into a room where no one seems to notice you. While most people would see this as rejection, the Stoics see something far more powerful. Freedom. Freedom from the desperate need for approval. Freedom to build something more substantial than fleeting popularity. This is your hidden advantage. Social status isn't about collecting followers or begging for attention at the cool kids' table. True influence, the kind that lasts, comes when you stop chasing validation and start embodying value. The ancient Stoics knew this secret. The more you focus on becoming someone worth knowing, the less you'll need to convince people to know you. This isn't about networking or schmoozing. It's about something far more radical. Transform yourself into the kind of person others want to notice. Hit the gym, not for Instagram likes, but to cultivate discipline that radiates from your posture. Dive into that hobby not to seem interesting, but to become interesting. Excel in your career not for applause, but for the quiet confidence that comes from mastery. But here's where most get it wrong. They do these things for others. The Stoic approach is different. You improve for yourself first. When you do, something magical happens. People are drawn to you not because you're begging for their attention, but because you've become someone worth paying attention to. Now the game changer, contribution over clout. Volunteer not to pad your resume, but to solve real problems. Share your knowledge not to seem smart, but to actually help others. Build relationships not based on what you can get, but on what you can give. This is how you construct unshakable social capital, by being the person others want in their circle, not because of your status, but because of your substance. The paradox? The less you care about being seen, the more visible you become. The less you need validation, the more respect you command. This is the Stoic path to influence, not by chasing light, but by becoming it. Next, the ultimate power move. When and how to erase toxic people from your reality completely. Drop a comment below. What's one area of self-improvement you're focusing on that will make you more valuable to your community? Your commitment might inspire someone else's journey. Remember, true status isn't taken, it's earned. Not through manipulation, but through becoming. And that's something no one can ever reject. The art of strategic disappearance. How to make indifference your superpower. There comes a moment when you realize the most powerful response to being ignored isn't louder attempts to be seen, it's complete intentional invisibility. This isn't about games or pettiness. It's about understanding that your attention is the most valuable currency you possess, and some people simply don't deserve to be paid. When someone treats you as insignificant, the revolutionary act isn't confrontation, it's erasure. Not the dramatic door-slamming kind, but the quiet, surgical removal of your energy from their orbit. In social settings, this means turning your body language into a closed loop, shoulders angled toward those who engage you, eyes never searching for their validation. That colleague who pretends you're air during meetings, Mirror their behavior with one crucial difference. Where their ignorance is meant to diminish, yours radiates liberation. Professional encounters demand a different calculus. Here you become a master of the polite void. Answers so technically correct they reveal nothing. Conversations that begin and end with the weather. Interactions stripped of all personal resonance. You're not being cold, you're being economical with your essence. Like a bank vault protecting its gold, you're simply recognizing that not every passerby deserves access to your riches. But the true mastery comes when you take this philosophy beyond individuals and make it your life's operating system. Every minute spent obsessing over someone's indifference is a minute stolen from your potential. That energy could be building businesses, nurturing, fulfilling relationships, or creating art that outlives petty slights. The silent treatment isn't something you give them. It's the gift you give yourself, the freedom to exist beyond their limited perception. Next, the final, most controversial tactic: when and how to completely remove toxic people from your life's equation. Drop a comment below. Have you ever successfully erased someone from your emotional landscape? What did you discover in that space they used to occupy? Remember, indifference isn't something done to you. It's a power you reclaim from them. The moment you stop watering dead plants is the moment your garden truly blossoms. The Stoics' silence. Why saying nothing speaks volumes. Silence is not emptiness. It's the loudest declaration of self-worth you'll ever make. When someone treats you as invisible, the most powerful response isn't a clever comeback or desperate plea for attention. It's the quiet, unshakable stillness of a person who knows their value doesn't require external validation. This isn't the silent treatment in the petty sense. This is strategic silence, a conscious choice to withdraw not out of spite, but out of profound self-respect. The Stoics understood what modern society has forgotten. True strength isn't measured by how loudly you react, but by how peacefully you can refrain from reaction. When you encounter indifference, that moment of silence becomes sacred ground. It's not about them, it's about you. A space to ask the questions that matter. Why does this sting? What old wound is being touched? How can I grow stronger here? This is where rejection transforms from an external slight to an internal compass, pointing you toward your unexplored edges. Imagine this. Someone ignores your message, your idea, your presence. The old you might chase, explain, or seek closure. The Stoic version of you breathes, observes, recognizes this as the ultimate test of emotional sovereignty. That silence between their action and your non-reaction, that's where character is forged. But here's the critical distinction. This isn't suppression, it's elevation. You're not bottling up emotions. You're transcending the need for certain emotional transactions altogether. Like a tree that doesn't protest when a storm strips its leaves. You're cultivating roots so deep that surface-level indifference can't shake you. In this intentional silence, you'll discover something revolutionary. The people who matter will respect your boundaries. The ones who don't, they'll fade into irrelevance, not because you pushed them away, but because you stopped pulling them toward you. This week's challenge: the next time you're tempted to respond to indifference, pause, let 24 hours pass. In that space, journal what you learn about your triggers, your worth, and where your energy truly belongs. You might find the most powerful response is no response at all. Remember, in a world addicted to noise, the quietest people often hold the most power. Your value isn't determined by who acknowledges it, but by how unshakably you know it exists. The unshakable power of self-containment, why begging for attention, is the ultimate self-betrayal. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must face a brutal truth. Attention begged for is never respect earned. When someone treats you as invisible, the instinct to wave your arms wildly for their notice is strong, but the Stoic knows this is the exact moment to fold your hands and turn away. This isn't about playing hard to get. This is about becoming impossible to ignore by the sheer gravitational pull of your own completeness. The ancient Stoics understood what our modern validation-craving minds forget. Your worth isn't a spotlight someone else turns on you. It's an inner sun that radiates regardless of who chooses to see it. When met with indifference, most people make three fatal mistakes. They perform louder, they plead harder, they contort themselves into shapes they think might finally earn a glance. But you're different. You recognize this as the universe handing you a sacred invitation, not to change their mind, but to fortify your own. Here's the alchemy. Transform that craving for external validation into fuel for internal construction. That project you've been postponing, launch it. That skill you've been meaning to master, devour it. That circle of people who light up when you enter the room, cherish them. Build a life so intrinsically rewarding that someone's failure to notice becomes irrelevant to your joy. This is the paradox the Stoics mastered. The less you need to be seen, the more visible you become. Not because you're performing for an audience, but because authentic passion is magnetic. People will orbit your light not because you ask them to, but because they can't help but be drawn to something real. Your challenge today, for every moment you feel the itch to say, "Notice me," replace it with an action that says, "I am already enough." Write instead of text. Create instead of post. Invest in yourself instead of begging others to invest in you. Remember, kings don't beg subjects to recognize their throne. They simply sit, assured in their sovereignty. Your worth works the same way. The right people will see it without you having to say a word. The Stoics' armor, how kindness without attachment becomes your greatest strength. There's a quiet power in looking someone dead in the eye, the one who's ignored you, dismissed you, made you feel invisible, and offering them genuine kindness without an ounce of need behind it. This isn't people-pleasing. This isn't weakness. This is warfare waged at the highest level, where your serenity becomes the ultimate weapon against their indifference. The world will tell you to either rage at those who slight you or grovel for their approval. But Stoicism offers a third path, one so counterintuitive it borders on revolutionary. Be impeccably kind, yet utterly untouchable. Here's how it works. That colleague who pretends not to hear you in meetings, greet them warmly each morning. Not because you crave their acknowledgement, but because your manners aren't for sale to the highest bidder. That former friend who's mastered the art of the cold shoulder, wish them well sincerely, not to win them back, but to prove to yourself that your character isn't dictated by theirs. This is emotional jujitsu. By refusing to mirror their pettiness, you reveal their behavior for what it truly is, small. Meanwhile, your kindness, given freely without expectation of return, becomes a mirror showing you who you really are, someone unshaken by temporary winds of disregard. But make no mistake, this isn't about being an emotional doormat. That smile you offer, it comes from behind a castle wall of self-respect so high that no slight can scale it. That polite conversation you maintain, it's conducted from across an impassable moat of emotional detachment. You're not cold, you're contained. The magic lies in what this does to you. With every act of willful kindness given without strings attached, you're rewiring your brain. You're proving to yourself that your worth isn't transactional, that you can be pleasant without being desperate, warm without being needy, generous without being gullible. Try this today. The next time you encounter indifference, give the gift of grace, not to change them, but to fortify yourself. Hold the door, offer a genuine compliment, then walk away without checking to see if they finally get you. That's the moment you'll feel it. The unshakable power of someone who's mastered the rarest of balances, a heart open enough to be kind, but a spirit strong enough not to care. Drop a comment below. When has kindness been your armor rather than your weakness? Your story might light the way for others. Remember, the Stoics weren't kind because they were weak. They were kind because they were strong enough not to need anything in return. That's the superpower available to you right now. No one can reject what you never put up for their approval. The unshakable facade, why your struggle is nobody's business. There's a moment after rejection, raw and vulnerable, when every fiber of your being wants to scream your pain into the void, to show them how deeply their indifference cuts, to make them see what they've done. But here's the Stoic secret. Your struggle revealed is power surrendered. This isn't about deception, it's about sovereignty. When you choose not to parade your wounds, you're not hiding weakness. You're demonstrating an ironclad truth. Your worth isn't negotiable, and your peace isn't up for public auction. The world will tell you vulnerability is strength, but the ancients knew better. Controlled vulnerability is strength. There's profound power in the gap between what you feel and what you reveal. That colleague who ices you out, they don't get to watch you unravel. That former friend who ghosts you, they forfeited the privilege of your transparency. Here's the alchemy. Transform that silent scream into kinetic energy. Channel every ounce of that unspent emotion into your next workout, your creative project, your professional grind. Let them see you thriving, not because you need them to, but because you've rediscovered a fundamental truth. Attention is currency, and struggle is the receipt. Why would you hand yours to someone who's already shown they don't value the transaction? But make no mistake, this isn't suppression, it's strategic containment. Journal your rage, confide in one trusted ally, scream into your pillow. Then, step into the world like a fortress, impenetrable, unconcerned with who's trying to scale your wall. Your challenge today: for every urge to reveal your hurt, make one undeniable move forward instead. That email you want to send explaining your pain? Draft it, then delete it. That social media post fishing for sympathy? Write it, then post your latest accomplishment instead. Drop a comment below. When has silence about your struggle become your secret weapon? Your story could be the lifeline someone needs today. Hit subscribe to keep the channel flowing to you. And remember, in an era of oversharing, the most radical act is quiet dignity. The Stoics weren't emotionless. They were emotionally sovereign. Your power doesn't live in their awareness of your pain. It lives in your ability to transform that pain into something no one can ignore. Now go build something undeniable. The best revenge isn't showing them your tears. It's showing up so transformed, they're left wondering if they ever really knew you at all. Stay stoic.